Thanks for joining me. This is Danny, and welcome to my Botania series. Today we are going to be playing with some red string. And we're going to take a look at how red string works, and then we're going to modify a couple of our builds back here using red string to make them a little bit cleaner and easier to work with. Red string is basically a later game means of remotely controlling different things, and there are 6 different types of red string blocks that allow us to remotely interact with different types of blocks. All of these require red string, which requires ender air bottle, and that's why I say this is a mid to late game activity, because it does require that you bend to the end and had some bottles, some empty bottles that you click in the end that get you these ender air bottles. Each red string item will require a block of redstone and some string and some pixie dust, which is a mana pearl dropped in your elven trade, which is a ender pearl. So I made one of each kind for us just to check out and see how they work. And then after we take a look at how they work, we're going to go in the back and actually do some practical stuff with them. So we have the red string container, which essentially will allow us to remotely access an inventory. So we place this thing down, and we can place a chest within 8 blocks of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if we hold it onto the forest, we will see the red string in between. And it does have to be within 8 blocks, and it has to be in one of the 6 directions. So this red string container could be above the chest, it could be below the chest, or it could be north, south, east, or west of the chest, up to 8 blocks away. So for instance, as you might already be able to guess, if we set this 1 block over, and then we grab our wand of the forest, we'll see that there is no red string there. So I'm going to put this here, and we can put blocks in between. So this thing could be underground, it could be anywhere, and it'll still pass through any blocks. And what this is going to allow us to do, the red string container, is going to allow us to interact, to basically input things into this chest through this block. So if we point a hopper into this block, and we check the chest, we can see it is empty. And now I'm going to just throw those living wood planks in there. They will get hoppered into this block, which is basically putting them in this chest. Hooray! And this also works with hopper hocks, of course, with Botania's hopper hocks, or any other means of inputting. So you can input into this red string container using any normal means, and it will end up in this chest. And then we have the red string dispenser, which allows us to connect to droppers or hoppers. So if we set a dropper, right there, and a red string dispenser right there. Oh, actually that is too far. We can do the exact same thing we did with this, where we can insert items. So it works like the inventory thing. So we can put our redstone in our dropper, but then it also allows us to send redstone. So if we give this thing a redstone pulse, that dropper is going to throw this redstone. Nice. And then we have the red string neutrifier. We're not going to be using this one today for any automation purposes, but what we can do is we can point that at something that can be bone mealed, and then when we right click on it with bone meal, it is going to bone meal that sapling. And then we have the red string comparator, and this one we are actually going to be using today for a few different things. This one is a quite useful block. So again, we pointed at an inventory, or we pointed at any inventory block that would output a signal to a redstone comparator. That includes mana pools, or anything that will output to a comparator. So we will see that if we put some stuff in this chest, that we will get an output over here. So this block is going to help us clean up a lot of our redstone. And then we have the red string spoofer, which allows you to make a flower act like a different flower. Down here, we can point it upwards. It's always going to point toward you, whichever way you face it, whichever way you place it. We can place a flower on there. So let's say we take one of these fallen canades over here, and we put it down there. So the fallen canade is going to give us regen 3, but not up here, right? However, if we place any flower up here, actually, let's just dig away at the dirt here a little bit, just so that we can see what's going on down there. So I'm going to place a piece of dirt here, and I'm going to place just a mystical light blue flower, just a regular old mystical flower. As you can see, if we hover, oh, did we go down too far? Place the fallen grenade on here. I'm down here. I'm not getting regen, right? And the fallen grenade does have mana. But if I go up here by this mystical light blue flower, I get regen 3. Nice. So that could be useful if you're on a multiplayer server and you want to, I don't know, be sneaky. It could also be useful if you want the effects of a functional flower outside the range of your mana pool. Last but not least, we have the red String Interceptor, which basically allows us to turn any interactive block into a trap chest. So, as we will see when we right-click on this chest. Oh, whoops. Oh, we can't see. Okay, so let's put this dispenser. Yeah, let's put this dropper over here. And I'll just throw some stone in there. So every time we open this chest, that dropper is going to get a redstone signal, because this red string interceptor will output a redstone pulse anytime a user right-clicks or interacts with any kind of like complex block. So in the last episode, we set up this Gourmaryllis flower with all this crazy redstone to keep things under control. It's a mess, and it's hard to maintain, and if I have a problem with something, it's really hard to see what the problem is, because we've got different redstone signals going off in all these different directions, and potentially interfering with each other. Of course, you know, I did troubleshoot a lot of that, and I fixed some of the interference, but I would like to make this a little cleaner, and we can do this with red string. And I want to start with these comparators right here. So we've got these two droppers. One of them is dropping apples, and the other is dropping pumpkin pie, and it's doing them alternately so that our Gourmaryllis can go efficiently. I'm actually going to turn this off right now so we don't have to. Oh. Okay, so we don't have to listen to that. Okay. And we're doing two different things with both of these comparator signals. One, we have a NOT gate here, which is causing us to turn off this whole system if we ever run out of either one of these materials. Usually we tend to run out of pumpkin pie because our pumpkin farm doesn't always keep up, or actually our sugarcane farm doesn't always keep up. By the way, I did double the size of the sugarcane farm recently. And we're also taking that signal out to turn off our pumpkin pie generator if we have enough pumpkin pie, and to turn off our requesting of apples if we have enough apples. So you can see this is really quite a mess, and we're going to clean it up using mostly red string comparators. So I've got 3 red string comparators that we're going to be using for the setup. Oh, and we also have a comparator on our mana pool to shut off the system if we end up with enough mana, which, you know, we will eventually. And that's running redstone up here, and it's basically doing the same thing that this comparator is doing, or that we're doing with that signal to turn off the system. So what I decided I want to do is use the red string comparator to basically pull the comparator, or to be able to compare, to link to these droppers over here. Instead of having all this redstone here, we're going to kind of displace it out here so that we can make it a little bit cleaner. So the red string comparator, of course, we do still have to set up a comparator. We still have to place a comparator facing out from the red string comparator, because it's basically acting like it's that inventory from the comparator's point of view. And we put a piece of redstone here, and then instead of having this NOT gate down here, we'll start with that. We'll start with our turning it off when we run out of stuff. We're going to put it, actually let me get rid of that. We're going to put it there. So it's essentially going to do the same thing. So now when this inventory is empty, this redstone comparator will output 0, which will cause this to output of 15, which is going to effectively turn off both of these mana spreaders. It'll basically give it one more pulse, and then it'll get a constant redstone signal, and it will also make its way up here into this redstone repeater to give a redstone signal to our droppers, to the block next to our droppers, which will essentially tell them to ignore the hovering hourglasses. So that's it. So I'm going to do that on both sides, and you're going to see that how much I'm going to be able to get rid of just by doing this. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. This red string comparator is going to be pointing to that dropper. And of course, if we hold R1 to the forest, we will see that that is true. It is not looking at the inventory of the hovering hourglass. That wouldn't be very useful. It's pointing right at the dropper. And now, actually, if we back off, we can see both of our red strings. Okay, so there we go. And now both sides are identical. It's symmetrical, basically, right now. And our comparator signals are coming out here. And I have it blocked from that for now. So what we can get rid of over here now is we have this NOT gate here feeding into all this redstone that's running all the way up here and then feeding into that redstone repeater, which we can also get rid of now. In fact, we can basically get rid of all... Oh, crap. Not that yet. We'll get rid of that eventually, but not yet. There. Look at that. So the other thing we're doing with this comparator, this is the one coming out of our apples, is we're bringing it up here to power this corporeal funnel so that it ignores this hourglass, which is telling the corporeal funnel to grab some apples from our tree farm. So when we have enough apples, this thing gets a redstone signal, and then it doesn't request anymore. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to make it a little bit cleaner by pulling the redstone signal from the comparator from over there. However, I'm just going to put another comparator on the other side of this. Otherwise, we would have to try to run this signal up and around, and that would be a mess. So comparators are cheap. Okay, so we're just outputting the same signal on both sides. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when we get a redstone signal of 7, which we already have, then this will stop requesting apples. And you can see it looks a little bit cleaner than it did before. And another nice thing is we now have access to our Gourmaryllis again. We can actually touch it. And I'm just going to, you know what, just to make this kind of symmetrical, I'm going to come back down over here. So I was able to get rid of the comparator that was behind this, and we're going to do the same thing over here. Actually, we're going to do something very similar because we have redstone coming out of this comparator for our pumpkin pie that's going along here, and then it goes underground, and then there's a comparator underground. I mean, there's a redstone repeater underground that's basically sending the signal when it reaches a certain strength, sending it off to our pumpkin pie farm in order to stop our pumpkin pie production. So in this case, I'm just going to get rid of all this. And we now have access to our Gourmaryllis. And I'm going to do this and that. Put another comparator over here. Because why not? And then we're going to run that signal down that same path. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can actually move this repeater back a little bit. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So actually we can just put this repeater going right into that block. So now when we get a redstone signal of 12 here, meaning that this thing is about 3/4 full, this thing is about 3/4 full, then it's going to turn off our pumpkin pie farm. Hooray! And then the next thing I want to do with the comparators is to clean this mess up. We have this kind of zigzagging around here so that we can get the signal to the right strength when it gets to this repeater up here, because what happens when we get enough mana is we want to be getting the same redstone signal to both of these, the same strength of redstone signal to both of these mana spreaders that we're giving to our open crate, so that they all stop at the same time. And of course, by using the red string comparator, we can have a little bit better control over the strength of our redstone signals. In fact, we probably won't need that repeater anymore, because what I'll do is I'll put a block up here. And I'll cut this one out. The reason that repeater was there was so that the Gaia mana spreader wouldn't get a signal. Because otherwise what would happen is once our mana pool got full, then we would no longer send mana, which obviously is not what we want to happen. Actually, I'm going to do this and that. There. So I've got this red string comparator, and as you can see, it is going through all these blocks, and it is giving us the signal from the mana pool. And that signal is just climbing up here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's also 7 to each of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at that. This gives us so much more control over like how we want to lay things out and how we want things to look. We are back up and running at our beautiful, our slightly more beautiful setup here. So if you have any questions or comments or ideas for future episodes, or questions about Corporea or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this, don't forget to click the like button and to join me next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.